This nation's enduring love affair with the motor car has taken two major forms. One form involves the tiny, lightweight, open cockpit cars. The other side of the racing coin features passenger cars with which racing fans have total identification. All through the saga of auto racing during the past decade, two names stand out above all others. Two men have contributed enormously to the sport's success. One name is Andy Granatelli, a name synonymous with innovation and controversy. The other is Richard Petty, all-time NASCAR stock car champion. It was fated that these two giants of auto racing would ride together down racing's road to success, Thunder Highway. Just hours before the start of the stock car season's opening race at Riverside, California, Granatelli called newsmen together for an announcement. His surprise was a partnership with Petty, whose decision to join the world-famous STP racing team exploded on the sports world like the bombshell which Granatelli had promised earlier. Richard Petty, who won 21 of his 46 races in the previous year, has earned well over $1 million in purses. He heads the STP NASCAR team with Buddy Baker, who just completed the best season of his career. A strong competitor is Bobby Allison, driving a super-fast Chevrolet stock car. The second Bobby is Bobby Isaac, another superstar of the booming sport of the 70s. A.J. Foyt is another tough competitor, and so is David Pearson. These men and their machines line up at Riverside to start the season. Andy Granatelli, with his racing brothers Joe and Vince, and his eldest son Vincent, roam the pits in conference with their Petty teammates. There has been no time to even paint the famous Petty Blue Plymouth in the agreed two-tone colors of STP Racing Red and Petty Blue. It looked for a time that the dense fog would ground the drivers and their cars, but the drivers agreed to race, despite miserable visibility on the twisting road course. Richard sat back with his STP Plymouth in third position to watch A.J. Foyt's White Mercury and Bobby Allison's red and gold Chevrolet battle hammer and tongs for the lead during a race marked by shunting and bumping in the fog-bound turns. As the fog-shrouded race ground on, the Petty crew displayed typically cool pit work and strategy. Closing laps, Petty mashed the gas pedal of his famous blue number 43 to scoot for the checkered flag of victory. And the king of the stock cars delivers a victory to Andy Granatelli's STP racing team right out of the box. An auspicious beginning for a new racing partnership. An agreement sealed in Victory Lane.
Hold the trophy up, Richard. Hold the trophy up. Hold the trophy up, Richard.
The second stop on Thunder Highway is Daytona Beach. This is daring Malcolm Campbell, roaring to fame in his bellowing Bluebird on the rock-hard Florida sands, where racing goes back to the very gestation of the automobile, to the days of Fred Marriott and the Stanley Steamer, when a mile a minute was a speed said to be impossible for man's body to tolerate. Brave Major Seagrave was another contender for the world land speed record at this famous beach. He, too, battled a slippery course to earn fame as the fastest man in all the world. Frank Lockhart found death at the end of the sandy trail of speed at Daytona Beach. Today, a steady stream of tourists drive along the same pathway of speed, drenched in the legend of daring that goes back 70 years in time, a place where the thunder of open exhaust pipes is only an echo in the mind. Big-time racing in the South began on the Daytona Sand Course, which predated the splendid 2.5-mile tri-oval built here by Bill France. It was France who pioneered the sport of stock car racing, constructed it with his own mind, hands, and determination. France, like many of the major figures in the sport, raced cars on the old course beside the surf, along with men like Andy Granatelli, who still holds the NASCAR beach course record for the measured mile. He set it in 1961 with a hair-raising ride that saw his car become airborne and nearly plunge into the sea. Today, racing at Daytona means Speed Week, with cars of every type racing around two different tracks at the classic Motordome, which has banking so steep that men cannot easily scale them afoot. Now the qualifying race for the big Daytona 500-miler. Both STP racers, Petty in 43 and Baker in flame red number 11, use the daring and effective drafting technique to blister their way around the racetrack. Suddenly, the specter of tragedy steps in from the wings. The victim, Friday Hessler. His death halts the race, casts a pall over fans and drivers alike. When the qualifying race resumes, Petty and Baker begin to encounter problems. They will be forced to start back in 31st and 32nd positions in the big 500-miler, and how the two STP drivers will handle this handicap is the sole topic of conversation by the fans. An all-time record crowd awaits the green flag, which will start the biggest racing classic in all of the Southland. A high-speed dash for fame, for dollars, and for glory. For Andy Granatelli, it is a return to yesterday. For Andy served as chairman of the NASCAR Technical Committee in the formative days of the stock car sanctioning body. He knows the problem faced by Petty and Baker, and he knows the Petty strategy that works so well at Riverside. The STP men climb aboard their cars, and Richard Petty tells us how a driver feels about his machine.
Part of it. You don't get in it, you just sort of put it on, you wear it, and it's got to be part of the man.
The moment of truth has come again for every man in this bellowing field. Petty in the red and blue 43 and Baker in the scarlet number 11 stand on the gas in the opening lap. The crowd comes to its feet to watch Petty and Baker come pouring through the pack. One of the most amazing catch-up scenes in the history of racing as the two cars whistle around the very top of the high banks at Daytona with skill and daring that sets the crowd afire. At speeds near 200 miles an hour, the two STP cars move from the tail end of the pack to second and third positions within 7 laps of the start. They employ the precise and delicate technique of drafting, running only inches apart to split the air as one car and provide more speed and power to overtake the field. Richard Petty describes how this daring kind of racing gives super speeds to both cars.
Now say you got a 40-foot long car with 2 engines. And one's pushing the wind, one engine and one car's pulling the wind. If you by yourself, you push and then pull. What makes the front car run faster is that he's pushing the wind, but he's not having to pull it. And if a good man to draft with will draft with you and make your car just like one long car.
The sudden pileup of slower cars brings the high hopes of Buddy Baker crashing to disaster. Walter Ballard takes evasive action when a car slows sharply ahead of him, but pinches Baker's red STP Dodge into the wall. Ballard's car, wrenched sideways by the impact, rolls on its top. Baker artfully slides his wreck across the track to safety. Then Ballard flops onto the grass, shedding parts as he flies through the air. Miraculously, neither driver is injured. The yellow flag signals a time for pit stops. While the wreckage from the Baker Ballard crash is cleared, the field slows to a crawl. Although the race is only 20 laps old, all hands top up with gas and mount fresh tires for a better bite on the racing surface. Richard Petty, left without Baker's support, has pressed his way to where he can bid for the lead whenever he wishes. A.J. Foyt, who has led this blistering race until now, pits in preparation for a duel with Petty, who is now pulled into striking position. Petty pours it on and passes Foyt with a burst of speed and skill to take the lead in this rich race. Nearly $45,000 is at stake for the winning driver. Foyt, in the white number 21 Mercury, runs hub-to-hub with the STP car in a rousing display of flat-out racing. But the big day at Daytona comes to an end for Petty as a $2 valve spring fails and sends the rocketing Plymouth behind the wall. This race is over for both Petty and Baker. But the challenge of Thunder Highway lies ahead, and the trucks roll out for Richmond, Virginia. This 500-lap race on a tight half-mile fairgrounds track is a sharp contrast to the racing expanses of Riverside and Daytona. Petty calls it down-home racing. The sight of Richard Petty dueling at close quarters with the other superstars of NASCAR brings a packed house of fans to watch the supermen of the Southern Stock Car Circuit. Pit work is equally important here as on the long tracks, and the Petty crewmen duel with those of Ellison and Isaac to give Richard every possible edge. Richard excels on these short tracks, where he first learned the sport from his famous racing father, Lee Petty. Lee, like Richard, was a three-time national champion, and he first learned to race on tracks where slower speeds allow car contact in wheel-to-wheel racing. Richard has a racing philosophy which he says he learned from his father.
As far as I'm concerned, the way I look at racing is, and I'm going to run for 500 laps for exercise and 1 lap pace. That's the only one I'm interested in. It's the deal of not how fast you can run fast, but how fast you can run slow. But I know that the main thing is try to be there first.
And Richard does be there first. He beats his arch rival Bobby Ellison by 1 full lap and brings Andy Granatelli's STP racing team its second victory in 3 races. The scene changes abruptly from the 500 laps on Richmond's Fairgrounds Oval to a spectacle in sound and fury during 500 miles of running on the smooth 2.5-mile surface of racing's biggest, most expensive racing plant at Ontario, California. Ontario, near Hollywood's film colony, is a mecca for celebrities, and the Miller 500, richest race on the circuit, has former world heavyweight champion Muhammad Ali in attendance as the guest of STP's Andy Granatelli, who shows Ali the fine points of stock car engineering. But now the receptions and handshakes are ended. Richard Petty, with his STP teammate Buddy Baker, have planned a cat-and-mouse strategy for running this rich race as the cars await the starting signal. Contenders for top money are the same as at Daytona and Riverside. Petty and Baker in cars 43 and 11, A.J. Foyt in 21, Bobby Ellison in 12, and Bobby Isaac in the red number 71. Voigt has flatly predicted he'll win it going away. He has probably run more racing miles on this course than any of his rivals as a result of his IndyCar races here at Ontario and hundreds of miles testing tires. Mishaps start early in this race, run in 80-degree temperatures before a big crowd of nearly 70,000 enthusiastic fans. The yellow flag brings early pitting. Pits are working smoothly as ever as the field follows the leading cars in for quick doses of fuel and fresh rubber. Voigt and Allison, dueling for the lead, both dart for the pits during another yellow flag. These are the early race leaders. Just as he did in the Rich Daytona race. With a clear track, he can beat the fast Mercury of the Texas driver. Running in front now, Petty pulls in for a fast pit stop, confident he has Voigt in hand. But the strangest fluke of the season confounds the Petty crew. An air hose powering a wheel nut wrench has been cut unknowingly by the sharp lower edge of a fuel can. The hose breaks, shutting off air needed to tighten the left rear wheel nuts. Petty neither sees nor hears the warning shouts of the hapless crewman. He sails back into the race with one rear wheel dangerously loose. As soon as he gets rolling, Petty knows the problem. Although the scoreboard shows him first, he's already lost the lead back to Voigt. Running slow and low on the track to avoid a crash, he ducks back into the pits to get the wheel nuts tightened. The mishap cost him an entire lap, which he never regained. That happened on the 131st lap, and Petty valiantly drafts with Baker to assist his teammate, still running strongly in contention with both Voigt and Allison, who battle for first place. So Baker lays back in third position, playing Petty's usual waiting game. The race ends with Baker running third, unable to catch the flying Allison, who is just 5 short seconds ahead of him. Voigt wins it with a scant 4-second lead on Allison, and Petty winds up fourth. Voigt made his own victory forecast come true, and he gets the Garlands at Ontario. But Thunder Highway is a long road full of twists and turns. It stretches to the other side of the nation, where another superspeedway race is set for Rockingham, North Carolina. The typical Southern program of pre-race fanfare is underway, and another packed house is on hand for the hard-charging NASCAR drivers. Richard Petty starts the race in second spot, and he sets out to run hard with Bobby Allison. Petty is an odds-on favorite to win this one. He's won 5 other races at Rockingham's 1-mile high-banked oval, and he tells reporters it's my kind of a racetrack. But early laps saw Bobby Allison in complete domination, his red and gold Chevrolet clearly faster than anyone else. Bobby Isaac in his red number 71 Dodge is also a strong contender in this race, and he ducks in and out of his pit in a flash during the yellow flag. Baker's number 11 and Petty's 43 zip into the pits for a fast fueling and tire change. Petty and Baker run together, as they have on every other major track, taking advantage of drafts to pick up speed and save their engines. Now Lady Luck thumbs her nose at Baker one more time. He pits. The hood goes up. That spells trouble. Another $2 valve spring lets go on his engine, and the discouraged son of former star Buck Baker wheels his Dodge behind the pit wall after 90 laps of flat-out racing. Richard Petty continues to run strongly, right with Bobby Allison, who has dominated the race, with Isaac in second spot. Petty's pit stop is fast and smooth, and he stays strongly in contention. But all is not well with Allison, whose Chevrolet expires just 260 miles into the race, putting him behind the wall and leaving Isaac running strongly in front of Petty. Petty and Isaac are on the same lap, both with a 2-lap margin on the rest of the field. But problems with his car hound Petty into the pits once too often, late in the race. Winningest driver in NASCAR history made up one of the 2 laps he lost while pitting, but he couldn't get close enough to make a bid for the leading spot. Isaac finally finishes in front of Petty's red and blue STP Plymouth. Jim Vandiver finished third, 10 miles behind Petty. And it was a popular win for the record crowd of more than 42,000 fans, for it was only the 3rd major racing win for Isaac over a 20-year driving career. Isaac had reason to be both proud and happy. Only 4 drivers led this grueling 500 miles: Isaac, Allison, Petty, and Baker. They swapped the lead 14 times, and Isaac led for the final 111 laps. As for Richard Petty, he was already busy planning the next race for the STP stock car team and preparation for the Atlanta 500. Here, Petty qualifies in his customary 3rd position, lined up behind Bobby Allison's Chevrolet and Bobby Isaac's Dodge, less than 1 mile an hour off the pole position speed. All during the first 200 miles, Petty is in position to charge to the front when the magic moment arrives. But just short of the halfway mark, fortune turns sour once again. He rolls into the pits with a serious ignition problem. Petty loses 3 precious laps he was never to regain. Allison, denied a win all season, finally passes Foyt just 4 laps from the end. Petty wound up 6th. Baker was 8th. Petty ran out front in the early laps at Bristol, the next race on Thunder Highway. Allison took the lead next. And at 370 laps, Petty bunted the rear of Jim Vandiver's Dodge. A bent fender jammed a tire on Petty's car, sending him smoking into the pits. It took 2 pit stops and some heavy sludge blows to cure the problem, and all this cost 7 precious laps, with Allison winging straight to his 2nd victory of the season. Isaac was 2nd, and Petty a disappointing 3rd. Darlington was the next stop on the busy racing schedule. Another record crowd surged in to watch Buddy Baker repeat past triumphs. But Baker does a spectacular spin down the front straight. Plagued all day with tire trouble, Petty gains back time to sit just 1 lap behind David Pearson, a strong contender, when the yellow caution flag flew. 7 laps from the end of the race. This left Petty running 2nd at the checkered flag. The 400-lapper on the 5/8 mile track at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, also draws a record crowd to watch the driving aces of the South French Fenders. Petty again contents himself with running smoothly behind the 2 Bobbies, Allison and Isaac. Walter Ballard bursts into flame while he's being fueled 2 pits away from Richard Petty. The Fire is doused in Ballard's car, but the spilled gasoline on the ground blazes fiercely. Although Petty led the race only once before, he was primed for the charge signal from his crew just 24 laps from the end. He sweeps into the lead without a visible problem and brings the crowd to its feet, dashing flat out for the checker. He finished 1.5 seconds ahead of Allison and 9.5 seconds ahead of Isaac. It was a welcome win for Petty, his third in the first 9 races of a new season. This puts him back in his customary place as top NASCAR money winner for the season. Next stop on Thunder Highway is Martinsville, Virginia, where Petty has won 10 previous races dating back to 1960, near the start of his driving career. The 250-mile race on this track is the biggest single sporting event in Virginia. Petty, Allison, and Isaac are the stars, and Isaac forges to the front, but Petty is confident at this race. He owns the track record, and his win record makes him the man to beat. Attrition starts early. Petty rolls into the pits under the yellow caution flag. His crew works smoothly, and Richard prepares to bid for his 11th victory on the Martinsville Speedway. Bobby Ellison's car weakens, and Bobby Isaac drops out with engine problems. Now Petty passes Pearson and breezes home to victory. So Richard Petty wears the garlands of victory for the 4th time in 10 races. He's top money winner for the season and has chalked up more victories in major races than any other driver in the history of the sport. Ready to roll through the nights on another long journey home, Richard Petty ponders on strategy for the remaining races of the season, along the endless expanses of the road called Thunder Highway.